So I just watched episode 2 of the Fallout series, and I am now a full-blown believer of this series. I love this episode. I stand by all my criticisms of the first episode, but this one blew it away fully and completely. Episode 1 was just introducing the main cast, setting them on their mission, and this episode is when the show really starts in earnest. And we get into the wasteland, we get to see all the crazy Denzians, we get like a trash built city, all the hallmarks of Fallout. We get the mutants, we get the gratuitous gore and violence, we get the over the top eccentric characters, we get the funny quippy dialogue, the satirical, cynical, dark humor. Everything I wanted in a Fallout series is pretty much present here. And there's also a great sense of mystery, and now I'm invested in what is going on with our Vault Dweller character's father. There's something that is looming here. This guy is very mysterious. I think this actor here, he played Benjamin Linus, Michael Emerson. He's a very talented actor. Seen him in Lost. And spoiler alert, I'm sad to see him go in this episode because he was really fantastic. And I think it's really interesting that he knows all of these things he shouldn't know. I'm sure it's going to make sense later. I'm sure he knows the character's father and all these things. So I'm loving this setup. This teaser scene is fantastic. It just puts us in a new world. You got the scientists doing experiments on dogs, and it's twisted, it's dark, it's perfect for Fallout. He injects himself with some weird serum. This dog is like his personal experiment. Dog meat here is hidden behind a wall. You know, he's hiding him. He's hiding him away so he doesn't get incinerated or something. Maybe he was supposed to be incinerated. He decided to keep him. We don't know everything that's going on here. Wordless opening, and yet it's perfect. You know, the guy comes in and spots the dog, and they're fighting over a switch. We don't know what's going on. We only see context clues. I think it was brilliant to cut out the dialogue in this opening scene, and just wow, such an effective teaser. This turret popping up, another thing from the games. Like, everything just feels so true to the video games. You know, every little detail, even down to some of the sound effects, like when they pull their weapons out, I swear it's the exact same sound effect. And I just love the tone. I love everything about this show now. I'm fully into it. I was a little skeptical of this main character here. We got Lucy, the Vault Dweller, now in the world. She's the fish out of water. She's got to be taught the ways. And in the first episode, I was like, she's a little bit too perfect. That is her flaw, actually, because she is too moral, she's too uptight, she's too clean, everything that is not well suited to the outside world. So it actually is perfect that she is too perfect, because it will end up biting her in the butt, because she won't be able to do the things that she needs to do. Or at least that's what they're setting up in this first episode here. I mean, I love the set dressing in this episode. It's just phenomenal, and every little detail down to how the city's built. I mean, we go through this whole city. I'm probably not going back to Philly. And they just perfectly nailed everything. Like all the little part actors that just walk by, the extras. Like they're all unique. They all have these interesting, cool looking things. They're scavenging trash. And this opening scene, we're setting up the cyanide pills that Vault Tech put out into the world. So she's kind of learning that Vault Tech is a lot more dark and sinister than she maybe thought. So she's going to learn the truth. And I love this opening scene. The only real criticism I have of this episode, and it goes throughout the whole thing, and I'm sure it's going to be a thing going forward, it doesn't really hurt my enjoyment, but just as a critic, as a writer, as somebody who notices this stuff in a lot of shows and it drives me nuts. Over reliance on coincidences. Everything is a huge coincidence in this episode. Everybody's like within walking distance of each other. You know, all the major players just happen to cross paths here all at the same time. Very convenient for the plot. So that's very relevant to state in this second episode here, because, you know, the Brotherhood of Steel guy drops in, Maximus, just walking distance from where their target is. The first place that they look, he just happens to have been there. And then the ghoul just shows up right on time, it's very convenient. I look past it because it's so much fun. This show is just fun. Okay, it's dark, it's twisted, it's funny. That's everything it needs to be. It is perfect as far as I'm concerned. I do like our major players here. I had my criticisms of the first episode, and I stand by them. But I like the Vault Dweller being perfect, works out. And we got Maximus here, who is the coward. He needs to learn to be courageous. And I think that's a good story arc for him. So he basically takes advantage of the knight guy who is not nice to him, who's a complete jerk, who calls him all these names and makes him wash his penis plate. Little alliteration there for you guys. So I love how he's treated like shit, and that's why, he takes advantage of this opportunity. I thought it was hilarious when it's Michael Rappaport in the suit, and then he's like just pitiful, pathetic. The bear, I forget the name of it. They have a Yugatoy or something like that. The bear, the mutated bear, love seeing that. Great effects. I mean, just they nailed so many things in this episode. I love Michael Rappaport just like talking shit on this guy, and the guy's being a coward. He's not standing up for what's right. He's just kind of looking out for himself. And then, he's, I'm assuming, going to have the hero's journey later. He kind of seems to want to help people, and it turns out to be a little misguided. So, we have similar story arcs that are kind of crossing different directions. We have a good person who needs to become a little bit more self-centered in order to survive, and we got a character who's cowardly and self-centered who needs to become more heroic. So they're crossing each other, and there's kind of like this romantic setup going on there in this episode as well, where Lucy kind of has a thing for Maximus. I'm sure that's going to go badly when she sees who he really is, that he's not really the knight that she thinks he is in this episode. So, I actually love this setup where the guy's like, he's going to give him the stim pack, and then the guy's like, they're going to kill you because you're not good at your job. So he has to look out for himself and say, I guess I have to let you die, because if I let you live and then we go back, you're just going to have them kill me. So survival means you can't stay there. So he ends up taking out the suit, and it's, I think, good writing because, we have somebody in the power suit who is not trained for it. So there is definitely a buff to him. He's tough. He can take on the ghoul at the end, but he still is not trained enough to actually follow through. So they clash and they're equal. It's not this completely overpowered character. So smart writing, and we see Lucy learning, she can't be giving people stuff. She can't be too nice. This guy's weird. He just wants to sleep with her, and it's funny. He's been living there forever, and I love interacting with all the random Denzians in this episode. And Maximus goes through the exact same thing, back to back, and, he's trying to save somebody. So, again, like I said, they're crossing paths, So he tries to save somebody, and it turns out that maybe it wasn't the best thing. I mean, yeah, don't let that guy get killed, but he was effing the chickens, which I thought was hilarious, dude. And then we see this city, and wow, I love this, dude. As a Fallout fan, this is as realized as we can get in terms of bringing this on screen. I'm surprised they have the budget to really pull this off. Because it kind of feels like we're leaving this town and we're not going to be back. So the fact they did this for one episode, massive shootout scene, and the pacing was so much better in this episode too. I felt like last episode everything was a bit too rushed, and in this episode everything took just the right amount of time. I love this scene here where Lucy's meeting this tough as nails shopkeeper. She's learning how people look at her, and she's got all these righteous beliefs, and nobody's into it because they know what the real world is like. And we just, the coincidences, they do bother me, but I can look past it because it's so much fun. And then, Michael Emerson's character comes back, and then we have this massive shootout scene, and it's brutal. I love the over-the-top gore. I love the clever quips. I love everything exploding, destroying the environment. I mean, this is just so good, man. It was just so fun, so good. And then the guy got his leg shot off. And of course, we have the Brotherhood of Steel guys show up on time. Coincidence again, but I love the showdown between those two. And they end up being evenly matched, like I said. I love this. I don't know if this is from the games, but we have this veteran's leg, or Pete's leg, veteran something. And the artificial leg that she pops on, it's very painful. That was definitely the same cynical, brutal, slapstick type of humor. Everything is perfect. And I even love the small details. Like, I was really struck in this episode how Lucy is a spitting image of Kyle MacLachlan, the actor who plays her father. Like, just this whole episode, I was like, wow, she looks exactly like him, dude. And I love how she doesn't even swear. She's too nice for that. She's too polite. She's just not made for this world. And it's just really going to be fun to see how they nail this. So I'm excited to get into the next episode. I love this ending where he took the cyanide pill and she has to cut off his head. Again, she's got to get a little nasty. She's got to learn what the world is like. And he's almost like mentoring her by making her cut his head off. So it's just, I'm thinking it's brilliant, man. I love the music cues too, man. It's all the same songs from the games. And it kicks in, the Ink Spot song here, Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. Earlier with the Man song when he puts the suit on. Dude, just perfect timing. Really smart stuff. I could not be happier with this second episode. So I'm a full-blown believer now. I'm going to watch episode 3. We're going to combine my reviews into one episode. So I'm going to go straight into episode 3. And then we'll see you guys on the other side. Episode 3 of the Fallout series, I can now say it is official. I love this show. Unless something goes drastically wrong in the next few episodes, I think we can officially give it a thumbs up like the last scene of this episode. I'm loving it so far. Another fantastic episode. Stand by my criticisms of episode 1, but 2 and 3 have been absolutely fantastic. So this episode, I think, really did a great job at servicing all the different storylines they have going. There's like 5 plots in this episode, and ensemble cast. It's a big scale story, but each story doesn't feel crammed in like the first episode. It feels like everything's moving along exactly how it should. So the pacing improved drastically in episode 2, and I think episode 1 just really needed to get things going quicker than maybe it should have. But despite that, now that we're here, I think it was worth it to speed along that first episode just so we can get to this point. And we start with this amazing teaser scene. We got our actor Cooper here, and we see the full before and after. Now that he's the ghoul in the main timeline, we see him before, and he was a guy who was so righteous he wouldn't even pretend to shoot somebody on a TV show, and things have really changed for him over the 200 years in the apocalypse, and who can blame him? But we already got a bit of that before and after with episode 1, where we got the opening scene where he's a family man, and now this. But I think this really delves into what his real connection to the main storyline is. Maybe it's not just that he's in it for the sport, like he said at the end of the first episode. He's not just in the chase. He really is connected to this Vault-Tec thing, as we see at the end of this episode here. So that's my theory. We shall see if I'm proven right. But I like this first scene here, just to prove it before and after. And we got a set piece thing with the time that it's set in. The director was a communist, so he was fired. That was real things that happened. And then he comes out and you think it's a meet cute with his wife, but it turns out that they're already married. So, it's a fun scene here. I like this intro. And you see the statue in the background, and later in the episode, I don't know if people caught this or not. We shall move my head so you can see the little globe statue over here. That comes back at the end of the episode. So they end up coming to this exact same location by the end of the episode. Everything coming full circle. So I like how, the corruption of being alive in the apocalypse has gotten to him. And it's kind of a symbol of what's going to happen to our main character Lucy here. And he even says in a line of dialogue, nothing out here stays clean. Definitely heavy-handed with the themes in this episode, but I'm fine with it because I think it's definitely well done enough, and it's exactly what we want to see in this show. It's the theme of things staying clean, and then there's a cycle of violence, a cycle of bullying in the Maximus part of the storyline. So I love all of that. Everybody's tracking everybody else. And she's got the head. She cut the head off in the last episode. And then she's like talking to it and being nice to it. We don't really feel the impact of the violent act that she did because we skipped over that. But it's funny to see like how innocent she is. And she is the clean, pure innocence of the vault getting out into the real world. And it turns out the vault itself is also corrupted. And that happens in this episode as well. And also the people behind the vaults, the Vault-Tec Corporation before the bombs, was always corrupted. So there's this false sense of purity that that's not really what the world is, and that we need to contend with that in this corrupt world. So the theme of water keeps coming back yet and yet again. The contaminated water that the creature is in, he has a water pack in his suit that needs servicing, and that moment leads to exposing the truth. So water is very much a key theme in this. And also, I love the shout out in the vault that the water chip is dying out. That's the plot for the first game, which I played a little bit of. I didn't finish it. I'm more of a Bethesda Fallout guy, but I did play like the first 7 hours or so of the first one, and that's the main plot that sets you out into the wasteland, is the water chip in the vault going dead. So I love this first part here. Maximus, it's his old life catching up with him. Of course, he wasn't going to get away with this for long. The radio call sends somebody his way. Somebody that he was training with is going to get sent after him. He needs to sell his teeth to get this repaired, and the repair happens very quickly, and then he takes on these raiders, and just the brutality of this world beating on this man makes you want to root for him. And then later in the episode, he gets a little bit of power, and he goes power hungry really quickly. And this is definitely what we would have assumed he would do based on the first episode, when he's experiencing jealousy and he's getting beaten on. That cycle of violence, that is the theme here. So I love all these scenes. It was really funny when he gets his teeth taken out, and there's a great sense of humor and timing in this, great acting. It's definitely over the top, eccentric characters and all that stuff you love to see in Fallout. And the Squire's just fawning all over him. He immediately, as soon as this happens, he's like, I'm going to be the guy who was an asshole to me. He got it, so he's gonna dish it out, and it's that cycle of bullying and violence that we get into later, and it's so true to life. It's funny in the way it's expressed here, and I think it's great. And now we get this creature. I love this creature that's in the water, and I forget what it's called, but it's great effects. We got Dogmeat here, and even we see a little bit of the goodness in Cooper / the ghoul, in the fact that he bothered to save this dog. Even though he abandons him later in the episode, he's still has enough soul left in him that he is willing to do that. But he also is going to use Lucy as bait. So, he has this conflict in him. We see that based on the before and after, and just all the things he's been through. And then we get kind of the fifth plot of this episode, where we got Norm, Lucy's brother here, and he is the coward who needs to rise to the occasion. Now, I will say that it is a little quick to get where he gets in this episode. And, Chet just came out of the council meeting, and there's power struggles in the vault, and it's very funny the way that they're fighting each other for control. Chet loses his job, loses his identity, and Norm, a similar thing kind of happens to him. Like I said, it's a bit quick of a transition for him. He's getting in trouble for letting his sister out. They make a good argument that they did put everybody at risk, but they put him in charge of feeding the prisoners. There are Raider prisoners down there. And that's just one thing I would love if we got more time in the vault, but we just have so much going on. There's just not enough time for that. So I don't really know how there are any Raiders left behind. I thought that they all left. The Raiders were in charge of that situation. They were in control. They could have killed everybody, but they didn't. So that's one thing that's confusing. I don't know exactly how that ended up happening, but again, that's more of a criticism of the first episode than this one. So I love how we're tracking the ghoul, and they have an actual means of tracking the ghoul. Very funny how he pretends to know what he was talking about there, but he doesn't. So they're chasing the radiation. This torture thing, I love the dialogue here. It's really good. They used to do this thing called studies, and I love the golden rule, and Lucy's always bringing up, it's wrong to do torture. You gotta treat other people the way you want to be treated. All these cheesy, naive things. They are true things in civilized world, but in the apocalypse, you don't have the luxury of necessarily acting that righteous, right? But we see she's getting beat up by this episode, and being in the irradiated water, she's getting corrupted. It's happening symbolically, physically, and we're doing it with humor. So I think it's great. And I really love the line where he's like, the golden rule of the wasteland is you're always going to get sidetracked by something. So that is fantastic, absolutely awesome, because that is the experience of playing a Fallout game and pretty much any other Bethesda game and open world RPGs in general. But small details here I'm pointing out is I love this heads up display. This is straight out of Fallout 4. So they really nailed a lot of the aesthetic things here, the sound effects. The music is directly from the games, the same tracks that they selected, the Inkspot tracks, etc. Those are all from the original game series as well. So every time I don't know a lot of this old music, but I learned a lot of it. The gateway was through the Fallout games. And then hearing those come back, again, I love that it's not just a bunch more tracks, it's actually the same ones from the game. So I thought that this was great. And then they're discussing what to do with the prisoners, and we can see Norm is kind of getting corrupted too, but he's honestly the most rational one, especially once we find out that the water chip is going away. You know, these guys are never going to be able to get integrated into their society. They're never going to understand, and these people just don't understand that. You can't let them go because they know the secrets of the inside, so there's this ethical issue here. And I love this thing where, you know, this guy comes in and they decide that they're just going to let him speak this really dangerous thing into the ether, that the water chip is gone. There's only water for 2 months. Things are going to get desperate really fast in the vault. So I'm excited to see more of that. I love how they team up against this creature. I wasn't exactly sure on what it was that actually got the creature to explode. Something about the little fingers in his throat, so weird and gross looking. I love that. The play here where, you know, they're saving each other, kind of end up on the same level. So they got corrupted and then they're getting uncorrupted, I think, by the water. So the symbolism here is nice, and then the head pops out, and that's what they need. So, and then we get to the beginning. Again, you know, we're at the same location. The statue from the first scene is here, and then the Vault Boy sign is up there, and our man the Ghoul shoots it, and then we see that he was in the commercial. We saw the costume in the opening scene. You could just barely see it. I knew it right away. That's the Vault suit. He's going to be the Vault Boy, and he's the one who does the thumbs up, because we got that in the first episode with the thumb thing where, you know, if the cloud's bigger than your thumb, etc. So just a fantastic episode, and I'm fully sold on this show. I love how all these endings are different. This whole review has been me telling you guys all the things I like about it. So that's my feeling on this. I'm really excited to watch more of it, and I'm going to do more videos. So this video, we're doing episode 2 and 3, and then the next video, I think we'll do 3 episodes, and then, you know, total of 4 videos for this show review each episode. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm a full-blown believer. I hope you guys are too. But with that, it's been your boy Shuggy. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.